Okay, our speaker today is Shari Nelson. She's from both Dallas and Houston. She currently lives in the Terrell area, and she has been blessed with 4 children plus a son-in-law. She grew up with 2 brothers and a sister who still live in the Houston and Dallas area. She's currently working on lesson planning, teaching, and consulting with families who homeschool their children. And she loves reading and working in the yard and around her home, as well as just spending time with her kiddos. So help me welcome Shari Nelson.
Thank you so much. So, do you ever feel like you just can't measure up? Like what you do day in, day out is not ever enough. Not enough for your parents, maybe not enough for your children, not enough for your spouse, your boss, friends, or even for God. Do you have and operate with a need and a drive to want to be acceptable, want to be accepted, no matter what? That's my story. I grew up in a small church in Garland, Texas. I have wonderful memories of that time and pretty much an idyllic life at the time. I remember being involved and enjoying all the missionary clubs and vacation Bible school with my family. In December, right after my 6th birthday, though, I remember sitting down with the pastor because I, like others, wanted to be baptized. I had seen, I think I'd gone to a service and there were people being baptized. I remember telling my mom, I want to do that. Not really understanding, but so grateful at the same time. I understood who Jesus was and that he had died to save us from our sins. So I was baptized and I felt confident in my being saved by Jesus and being washed from my sin. Probably my greatest sin at that time was torturing my little sister. Everything changed though when my father was transferred to the south side of Houston when I was 8 years old. There was peace in the home as far as I understood it and I knew, but still we moved away from the church. I don't ever have any recollection or memories going to church during that time. If we did, it was unremarkable and forgettable. By the time I was 10, my parents were divorced. My mom had moved back to Dallas, and we moved to the north side of Houston with my dad. This is where the insidious lie began to take root in my heart. Work hard, prove yourself, and you will be accepted. Get good grades, and you will be praised. Make the right choices, and you won't disappoint others or God. As a teenager, I became heavily involved in a youth group at a local Bible church. I taught Bible studies and did all the right things. In school, I worked hard on my grades, got involved in student council, even became class president my senior year, graduated 14th out of 525 students, and received all the accolades. So I was feeling pretty good. Now I look back and I see my whole motivation was just trying to prove myself worthy of praise and acceptance. This lie and the fear that resulted pushed me in a way that at times I was unkind and arrogant. And it even hurts my heart now to think of the things that I said at the time to people because of it. When I didn't quite get that position or get the accolade that I was looking for. I have specific memories and they hurt now to think of how I behaved. In college, though, I finally gave up striving to be good and, like many adults, lost my way. It is exhausting to keep up, trying to be good all the time and to seek others' approval all the time. So I just quit. And I eventually made many bad choices. I utterly disappointed my dad, and I was crushed emotionally by it. I just couldn't even figure a way out of the shame and the guilt. One day though, I just got up. It was a New Year's morning. My apartment was full of friends. They'd come up from, at this time I had left college and I was in an apartment working in Dallas and had an apartment full of people all laid out on the floor, sleeping. And it was a New Year's Day. Got up and I went to church. I said, I'm tired and I really don't know where to go. So I went to church, and I can honestly say though that my heart did not change. But I got back on the works-driven treadmill to please God, my friends, and eventually in that process, my future husband. And it made me feel better. But I needed God. No matter how hard I tried, I continued to feel that it was never enough, that I just would not be acceptable. This type of lie and fear of rejection made me a very angry person. I just couldn't keep it up. As a wife and a mom, I was exhausted at seeking approval, acceptance, and even recognition. Working so hard to get it right and to be right, I couldn't even save myself from myself. But God stepped in with his amazing loving grace. I needed him and him alone. At a conference in East Texas, I was in a camper because I was nursing my first son, and so it was the nursing camper while the conference was going on, and they had a live feed, and I was sitting there listening to the speaker. It was a Bible conference, and God reached down and saved my soul. In that moment, he showed me that I could not do anything without him. He was God who gave everything for me, and even if I was the only one on earth, he would have died for me to save just me. He came to save me, and he came to save all of me. That day, he became my Lord, and I have never been the same since. Slowly but beautifully steady, he began to make the Bible come alive to me, to show me his truth and his promises. He was changing me by exchanging the lies for truth and the hurts and the pain for healing and wholeness. I remember during those years thinking, so interesting to me that God doesn't yell at us. Because I was still struggling with that. He doesn't ever yell. There's no shouting at me. But he was so patient with me as I learned to listen to his voice and walk where he told me to go. But I still needed God. I was just like a baby or a toddler who still understood things so simply. I trusted him to guide me, but I still didn't understand his free and giving and abundant grace. Grace is the complete unearned and undeserved favor and kindness that he gives us. It has nothing to do with our behavior, our actions, our accomplishments, nothing. That was hard for me, and I couldn't see it. After a skiing accident in 2001, I was laid flat on my back. By this time I had 4 children. I was laid flat on my back for a week, and God met me there and showed me what his grace looks like. I'll never forget it. We are all believers, his children, at the same level before him. It's funny, if I talk to a certain group of people, they know who Billy Graham is, but I work with students now who don't have a clue who he is or was, which is crazy to me. But at that time, God was showing me that I was on the same level as Billy Graham. Like, we're all level at the cross. That man is humble, or was humble. And at the time I remember thinking, but God, look at all the things he did for you. He said, but he was humble before me, and I poured out my grace upon him to do the things that I intended to have done. It had nothing to do with Billy Graham. God only calls us to humility. That was life-changing, absolutely life-changing. No matter what I've done, or how hard I try, or anything else, or anyone else for that matter, good or bad, great or small, We are all on the same level footing. Only God makes the difference. His grace covers all with his love and faithfulness. I don't have to do great things for God to earn his approval or his acceptance. Such pride, really. He only desires my humility. God gives grace to the humble. Think of that. To the humble. As I humble myself before him, he gives me the grace to be who he has called me to be. He will do his great work in my heart and my life, and I'm just to surrender before him. Every day and every moment, God makes the difference. I still need God each and every day. He patiently asks me to wait on him and to trust him and just to learn from him and to rest in him. Quit doing and just be. Sit at his feet and hear his words. He continually reminds me of these things. And he's not shouting, which I love. In 2018, I lost both my parents along with 2 students, a former student and a current one at the time, and several other family members and friends within a year's time. I went to 11 funerals that year, the last one being my mom's. And I remember calling a friend and said, I have worn the same dress to 11 or 10 funerals. I cannot wear the same dress to my mother's funeral. She immediately brought 3 dresses over for me to wear with jewelry intact so that I could pick something else to wear in my mom's funeral. I still have that dress. I'm not really sure why. The one I wore so many times. God's demonstrated such great love to me through his mercy and comfort for 2 long years. He taught me how to trust him and trust others, to care for me. He showed me his good intentions and his purpose in all the grief. I love that verse from Jeremiah 29:11, because it says he has good thoughts. That thoughts means good intentions. I remember sharing that with the students because it was in school. I was at a school when we lost a student during lunch in a car wreck, and I shared with them, God had good intentions. We have a hard time seeing that, but it was his good purposes that allowed that to happen in the lives of the young man who was driving, who was still with us, and all the students who were so close to this young man. And he had good intentions for me to be walking through the life that I was walking through. To abide in him, to stop striving, to rest, to love, and to be loved was all that he was calling me to do. Through all of my life, he's been telling me that he's not disappointed in me. That was hard to hear and hard to learn. It is not in his nature to be disappointed with us. He's not surprised by any actions we take, any choices we make. He's just patiently loving us through it, guiding us, protecting us, providing for us. I have stopped striving so hard. I cannot disappoint him. I can rest in him. Through God's salvation, I moved from knowing of God as Savior to knowing him intimately as my friend and as my Lord. Before this, I thought I had to please God and do all that he wanted me to do. His salvation is complete and it is final. He has declared me righteous in his eyes. Through God's abundant grace, I have learned his forgiveness and all the ways he gently took care of me until I have understood more fully. Before this, I judged others and struggled to forgive offenses. I have been forgiven so much. How could I not forgive others? Through God's comfort, I have learned that he is totally trustworthy and has a specific plan from the beginning of the time of my life to the very end. I can rest in him and I can trust him because he is faithful to care for me. And he has brought an unspeakable peace to my life. Is he calling you to trust him with your life? There is nothing you can do to earn it or to keep it. Just receive it by faith. He loves you so much that if you were the only person on earth, he would have sent his son Jesus to die on the cross as payment for your sins alone. Is he calling you to understand his grace and receive it? He fills all the gaps He makes all the difference. He alone accomplishes his will. He just asks us to surrender in humility and watch him do great and mighty things on our behalf. Is he calling you to stop striving, learn to just abide in him, to rest, to trust in his trustworthiness? No matter what, you are enough for him, and God is more than enough for us.